Good afternoon, St. George. This is Michael Harding.
And this is Christina Harding.
With On the Arts.
Woo!
We're here to blow the lid off of all these little artistic secrets that we have here. We don't want to blow it off. We want to blow the lid off of all of these secrets that we have in southern Utah. We have a lot of great things going on. And on our last show, we talked to two young ladies who are part of Women of Will.
Yes.
Christina, we actually did get to see a performance and talk to them a little more. Tell us about it.
Well, I think that we had a most enjoyable evening. It was beautifully staged. The director did a marvelous job in where she placed her actors. The set was amazing. I was amazed too at the costuming, the colors, and then to pull it all together, we had community actresses and professional actresses coming together and putting on this beautiful Shakespeare production. And I was blown away, because I promised them, this is their shirt.
Okay, and just so everybody knows, if you're listening to the radio right now, you can check us out. We have a live video stream.
And then you can see my shirt that says Women of Will.
We are streaming live on YouTube as well as streaming live on Facebook at Radio St. George. That's Radio space Saint, S-T, space George. And this will also be archived, so you can check out that lovely visual moment that we just had.
I'm standing up again. Okay, here we go.
Standing up for the camera.
Women of Will. Woo! Yeah, Cedar City, Utah, and you enjoyed it. I mean, we had a great time. It was only $5 to get in, and
I had a great time with it, and I love when any group gets together and does what's called a public domain show, a show where you don't have to pay rights. Usually they are historical, but we actually do have some playwrights today. For example, Charles Mee has all sorts of, and that's M-E-E, he has all sorts of plays that he's written, and he is adamant that his plays be free. You don't pay royalties to do these. You just download them off of the internet, and they get performed all over. He has become quite a popular playwright.
Excuse me. Well, can I just interrupt here?
Sure.
I just have to say,
I think you have.
I've got the space now. Yeah, what I enjoyed is how Britannia, the director, made this play of Pericles beautifully done enough that a child could understand it. There were children in the audience that were just mesmerized by this fairy tale story. And she told us before that it was like a fairy tale. It was beautiful. The fabric, had the ocean scenes. I mean, it was just the ship. I mean, it was beautiful. So yeah.
Well, I've always said that the gauge of whether a Shakespeare show is successful or not, and this is professional, children's, anything, is if a child could get the story. Because these really are very straightforward stories, and Pericles particularly is like a fairy tale.
Yeah.
It is magical and fantastical, and I think Britannia really pulled that off.
Yeah, and what an important thing to do in their community also, to pull and unite women together to do this. And it empowered so many women, and I'm excited to see what they do next year with this. And I can imagine it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing and becoming a bigger event every year.
Right. Well, I hope people do take advantage of seeing this. I think this is one of the secrets we want to blow the lid off of. Not only that we have these things, but we want to blow the lid off of agendas and things like that. They were very, very adamant, and I think it was a good thing to get this out there, that it is Women of Will. Everything is done by women, but this isn't an angry agenda or anything.
No.
It's a group of women who got together who wanted to do a show.
Opportunity to perform and to create.
And they did. They created a wonderful product that, like you were saying, was accessible to children, was a lot of fun for everybody involved. And I don't think many people have seen Pericles.
Yeah.
Pericles is one of the lesser-done Shakespeare shows. A lot of people wonder, I'm including myself in this, whether Shakespeare actually wrote the whole thing. I don't think he did. But it was a fun time had by all. And they only performed, I believe it was 1 week, wasn't it?
Yeah, just 1 weekend.
So hopefully it will grow.
And I hope that they can take it on tour in the future also, to go around to different venues. I think it would be wonderful to tour this. So.
Well, and it certainly does bring up a notion that we do want to push on this program, that the arts aren't something that have to be separated. The arts aren't something that someone else does, and maybe you're elite enough to go experience it. The arts is something that everybody can do, whether it be getting involved with film. We're going to have Adam Mast later on today to talk about the Guerrilla Film Festival, how you can start making a film. You know, we also have community theater. There's professional theater people can audition for. You've got music groups all over town. You don't have to just go sit in the audience. You can go and participate in this, and hopefully we're going to allow people to understand some of these opportunities.
Yep. Yeah.
Gotcha. And it's exciting to have people here in the studio that we can get to know.
Who are these people?
Now, we do have 2 special guests in the
That's very
studio right now.
special.
Well, we have
Yes.
1 special guest and the other's here.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
And they're guessing which one. They're both looking at each other like,
They both have this moment of guilt, like, is that me? I don't know. But to get us going onto what we're going to be talking about today, I do want to get historical. Just a little bit.
Now we're going to be bored.
Absolutely. Everybody, start the boredom meter right now.
Yeah.
But we mentioned Shakespeare.
Oh, no.
And as a lot of people know, I'm very, very fond of Shakespeare. That's the majority of my training. That's, if you look at my acting resume, there is a ton of this man's work on my resume. Now, one of my favorite things to do is to study the actual theater company that Shakespeare worked with and that he wrote for. And there are all sorts of wonderful personalities in this. Well, there's, in every company you've got the leading man, and then you've got, the foil, the raisonneur, if you will. You've got also the comedian, the clown. Every company's made up of this. Well, there was a very famous clown in Shakespeare's time named William Kemp.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it.
That's a different one. That's Pennywise.
Yeah.
Shakespeare did write it, but no, I'm kidding. But anyhow, you do have all of these types of actors in the company. And one of the things that William Kemp was known for was leaving the script. He was known for improving upon the work of the playwright in the moment. If he felt like a play that was being performed wasn't landing with the audience, he would throw in a little something that he thought the audience would enjoy. Now, sometimes this would be more than just a line here or there. It would turn into an entire speech. And he felt like it was his job to help the playwright out just a little bit. And occasionally, the other actors would have so much fun with him that entire scenes were added, and they were made up on the spot. Now, here's something that a lot of people don't know. When you're reading what you think is the definitive Shakespearean text, quite often you're reading what was transcribed and remembered from these improvisational, remember that word, folks, improvisational. Performances. And William Kemp was actually very famous for the phrase, yes, and. When he was up on the stage, that's very common, and of course we'll talk to our guests about that. But he was wonderful about in his best Shakespearean voice, and I guess at the time it was just theatrical. They didn't call it the Shakespearean voice. But he'd be up on stage, and there would be a very dramatic scene, and he would see the audience start to wane, start to go away a little bit, and he would jump on stage and say, yes, and then he would begin his little speech in a scene. Thank you very much. I'm a trained actor, ladies and gentlemen. Ginger, you're applauding me. You're the one we're happy to have in the studio right now.
Okay.
But anyway, that being the case, that introduces a bit of what we're going to be talking about today with our guests. I'd like to welcome to our studio Ginger Nelson, who has been with us before, actually, just not too long ago as part of the Celebrity Concert Series.
She gets around.
Absolutely. And we also
in a good way.
We also have a newcomer to our show, Chewy Lockhart.
Yay,
Welcome, guys, to the studio.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I get around to just in the bad way.
Oh, no. Oh,
But
no.
we're
Come
here.
Come hither.
Okay,
You
This
felt like-
microphone is so short.
Oh, you're a big man. There we go. Okay.
Now, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube,
This is hilarious.
you'll see
So everyone's got to watch this video.
Chewy is not vertically challenged. He's vertically gifted.
Yes.
Put it that
I'm
way.
not what you would call a dainty waif.
Yes.
You're not.
By any meaning of the word.
You're not the size of a regular person.
No.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Now, before we let this tension grow too big, across the desk here, just as a quick introduction, I'd love for both of you to tell us who the heck you are. Why are you here?
Yeah, why are you here?
Ginger.
What's going on? Yes.
Oh no, we didn't even play. Did you do this?
No, I did.
Oh, I thought he did rock paper scissors, but instead of scissors, it was a 3. That doesn't count.
That's complicated.
That's
Yeah.
the claw right there.
extra scissors.
That's the spaghetti strainer,
Yeah.
which
Okay.
beats everyone.
My name is Ginger Nelson.
Hi,
I work
Ginger.
with I work here at the school, but I'm involved with Improv Dixie. I don't know. What do you want? Just the background of my improv?
Yeah, you're here at Improv Dixie.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with improv?
So I first learned about improv at Off the Cuff in Cedar City. They do training and classes and stuff. And so I had gone when I was a lot younger to shows, and I just thought it was so cool and it was fun. And so I thought, hey, maybe I can do this. So after a few months of really being nervous and taking classes and like profuse sweating, I kind of got comfortable with it, right?
Yeah.
And since then, I moved to a few different places, played with a couple of different troops, and then came back to Southern Utah and was living in St. George, and met Chewy through Off the Cuff, and he can kind of tell you more of why we're here playing with Improv Dixie, but we just kind of wanted to do something down here. So yeah, that's how I got started, and I love improv, and I think it's really beneficial for everything for life. Like it just covers everything. But yeah.
You mentioned that both of you had come from Off the Cuff. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I guess let me give you a little bit of backstory on me. So I was born and raised in Chicago, and in Chicago there's a place called Second City, and Second City is the birthplace of what we now know of as improvisational comedy. When I was a young lad of 18, I went through their 2-year training program and fell in love with improvisational comedy, mostly because I'm a lazy actor who doesn't want to memorize scripts. I just like to make it up on the spot. And years later, I found myself out this way, and I was looking for improv anywhere nearby. And Off the Cuff Comedy Theater is ran by the Penrods up there, awesome people. And so I called up TJ Penrod, and I said, hey, you do improv, I do improv, can we improv together? And he said, yeah, sure, come up and be in a show. So I was doing a little bit of shows up there and met Ginger up there and found out that we were both making the commute from St. George up to Cedar. And so I said, Ginger, we need to find improvisers or teach people to be improvisers so that we can not have to drive all the way up to Cedar to do shows.
Yeah.
And that was the birth of Improv Dixie. We reached out to all the theaters, and Kelly Thomas with Space Between Theater Company was the only theater company to reach back out and said, yeah, let's do a class and a reach out. And we got 20 people to show up.
20.
To show up
First
to it.
time. Wow.
Yeah, just to see what it was about. And about 12 people stayed on. And over the last 2 years, every week I'm going to teach you how to improv. And we've been doing shows for a little over a year. And yeah, that was how Improv Dixie started. And it's we're bouncing around homeless trying to find places to play.
You're improvising.
Yeah, we're making it up
Every day.
every day. But recently, a few of us got together and started a 501c3, the So You Comedy Theater.
Oh, okay.
And we are hoping to have a permanent location, the So You Comedy Theater, by the end of the summer 2019.
Oh, fantastic.
So that way we don't have to improvise where we're going to play. We just know that's where we're going to play.
And I have to throw this out there. That really inspires me, the So You Comedy Theater. So you want comedy. So you want to be entertained.
It's
that
comedy
makes me
that
very
is
happy.
so you.
I just have to say one thing though, because Improv Dixie is all like the brainchild of Chewy Lockhart. He hit the ground running when he came here. He found the people. I'm just lucky to be kind of grouped into everything, but he's done all the work. He's worked so hard, and
Well, I can't imagine it was that easy to.
Well,
you know.
I think he's just. I mean, not a lot of people have told us no, but we just keep plugging along, and a lot of everything we do, it would not exist if Chewy didn't come here and meet us and kind of get the ball rolling. So,
Well, to start with,
Yeah.
how does someone get involved with improv? I mean, is there an audition, or are you required to take classes?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
because
I
that's
practiced. Yes.
that's an evolving process as well.
Oh, okay.
So 2 years ago, it was like anybody and their cousin, come here. I'm going to teach you how to be funny.
then we got rid of those people.
That weren't funny. Yeah, that would be me.
Recently, I started teaching improv basics here through the community education program.
Oh, great.
And we are evolving that. So I'm in 5 weeks, I have a 101 and now a 102 class that's going to be kicking off at the rec center. So improvdixie.com, we're on Facebook a lot. I'll admit I'm addicted to Facebook. I am one of those people.
Yeah. Here you
It is bad. And I'm old, so Facebook is the place for old people. That's what I've been told.
middle-aged, yeah.
So that's where I'm at. But our Facebook account, Improv Class 101, like Ginger said, is good for everybody.
Yeah.
We all have to talk to people on the spot, work with others, the basics of yes-anding people through life. It's really a good, powerful thing for anybody to learn, really.
Well, I have a question for you on that, and I think this is on the mind of a lot of people who think they might enjoy improv or they feel they may have an affinity for it. Can you teach somebody how to be funny? What can you teach?
The reality is everybody is funny. And I think where a lot of people make mistakes is improv is not stand-up comedy. There is no scripting this beforehand. So I think everyone, at least everyone in my experience, has a joke to tell or something quirky that they like to share. I think everyone tries to be funny and lighthearted. So encouraging people who seem to be more introverted and closed by allowing them to feel safe, that you're in a safe environment where you can open up and express your funny. Yeah, I think it's very easy to not necessarily teach people how to be funny, but show people that they are funny.
That they are funny.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I think that one thing that's really interesting how you're saying teaching people how to be funny. Some people, in my opinion, are not funny. They're just not. But the great thing about improv...
Very picky, Ginger.
I'm just saying...
Now you too.
I'm just saying, some people just, I mean, they don't really get when things are funny and stuff, but when you teach people improv, it's not always funny. Sometimes it's serious and stuff, but the thing that I draw the most from is when you're trying to write a joke or something, it's all on you, right? But improv is such an amazing gift that you get to share with other people, because when you really nail a scene or it goes a completely different way that you didn't think it was going to go, but it was really worth it and fun and you enjoyed yourself, you share that with the people that you were on stage with, even more so than sharing it with the audience. So I don't think you can teach people how to be funny, but you can teach them how to be funny and make something together sometimes. But that's just me.
You mentioned something that actually I only learned about probably a few years ago with a former student here, Travis Cox. And he worked with Off the Cuff just a little bit. Now he's, of course, in L.A. with his...
I think he's with Storm Chaser or something, right? Yeah.
They do a
I
lot
love
of
Travis
work.
Cox. He doesn't know, but I do.
Travis,
Great.
if you're
Just
listening,
kidding.
you may want to call Ginger. And Whitney, you may
Yeah.
want to call
Whitney,
Ginger.
They're
call
like the
Ginger.
power couple of life.
Whitney is his beautiful wife.
Yes,
and-
they're
Yes.
wonderful.
But I will tell you something that I learned from Travis, touching on something you just said, is that all improv, or a lot of improv, some improv, I should say, doesn't have to be funny. I didn't know there were different forms. There was long form improv. There was short form improv. It was a lot more complex than I thought.
Long form. What does that mean?
You know what? So recently I was just explaining to some students that are moving on into the 102 class. It's a lot like poker. If you can learn the basic tenets of poker, what beats what, there are a million different games that you can play with that poker. It's the same thing with improv. When you learn to yes and, when you learn to communicate and work with your partners and have their back, there are a million different games or styles of improv that you can use using those basic tenets of improv. So long form, I guess ultimately what most people should understand about improv is that you're creating theater above all else, and you're creating it on the spot without a script. And like all theater, it's not always funny. Sometimes you have very
Sometimes it's
serious,
bad.
intimate, heartfelt moments. And that improv can be just as powerful and as engaging to the audience as being up there. Whose line is it anyway? Here's my quick, funny, ha ha ha. Move on to the next one.
Oh,
So
that's new to me. Yeah.
yeah, long form is just taking very few suggestions and then drawing it out into typically a 60 to a 90-minute
Wow.
play
Wow.
on the spot.
On the spot.
Yep.
And I think, boy, how wonderful would it be to have transcriptions of these, just as we now have the classic plays of William Kemp / Shakespeare. How wonderful if we could actually have those transcriptions.
Yeah.
Well, and at Second City, their business model, when you go to Chicago and you go to see a Second City show, you're watching sketch comedy. And after every show, there's a half hour of true improvisation. So what they're doing is they have someone transcribing, and then together as a troupe say, okay, this was a good skit. Let's flesh this out until they've got another 90-minute show. Then their show goes away, and then you buy a ticket for a brand new show that has been birthed from all of this improv the last, few months of their last show run.
That does not sound easy to do. That takes a practice and skill and
just dedication, time and passion.
And trust, I would think.
A lot of
learning
trust.
to trust yourself and trust others to help you create.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like Ginger said, it's a team sport.
Yeah.
It's I've equated it to being like in a garage band. Sometimes someone can show up with a bass and jam with you, and it's great. Other times you're like, they don't really fit in well. But the longer you play together, the stronger you get. You start to feed off of each other because you know what they're going to do, so you can set them up for success. And then, the longer you play together with that same group, the funnier it tends to be.
Yeah.
I like this microphone.
You're making a lot of noise there, Ginger, when
I know.
you move the microphone.
I just want to take a second because we probably should give a shout out to all of our Improv Dixie kids,
Heck yeah,
our
we
group.
should.
Because if we didn't have them, you have good days and bad days, and I'm sure you've experienced with any scripted performance, sometimes you're on and sometimes you're off, but we've really been able to work with the same group over the last couple of years, and with pieces coming in and out, that we really do enjoy playing with each other and like hanging out and stuff. And it's really nice because you kind of grow a community. But shout out to those guys.
How many
We
are
love
in your
you.
group?
Hey, shout out Improv Dixie. Woo woo.
How many are actually in Improv Dixie at the current moment?
Well, there's no.
We've lost a few. We've gained a few.
On average per show.
Yeah, I would say that there's probably 10 on stage, 8 to 10 per performance. Yeah, and they really do become like family. We stay connected through social media. And
I have
keep
to
tabs.
ask, now around here with the audiences around here, what has it been like with the audiences? What names a few? Just the personalities. Has there been a warm reception, or are you heckled?
I'll go first.
All right.
Oh, heckled? If I were ever heckled, I would lose it. No.
Uh-oh.
Encourage it.
I don't know.
That would be more
I
than
am
don't
now
think we've
going to
ever had
treat
a
Ginger with
heckler.
the utmost respect.
Watch out.
I will break this microphone. Just the audience that we have is pretty responsive. Like they like it. We get a lot of families and stuff. We did some shows at Even Stevens for a while, which is a really hard space to be in. But they were really inviting and willing for us to come and perform for people eating dinner and stuff. For the most part, our audiences are amazing. We do 2 different shows when we have performances. We have a PG show and a rated R show. Now, the rated R show is not to say that someone's naked or something crazy like that.
R
It's
stands
just-
for really funny.
Yeah, really funny. But with both of our audiences, they're so different and they're so, I don't know. It's really fun to see how people respond. But we have a pretty good audience too. They're growing and they love it, and we see the same familiar faces, and they're bringing their friends and stuff. So I think it's pretty positive. I don't think I've had a negative experience with any audience member. I don't know. How about you?
No, I'll jump off that springboard real easy. We're starting to see some of the same faces, which is pretty awesome to see them coming back.
Yeah.
That tells us that we're offering something of value to them in their lives. Interesting that when I introduced the PG show, I was expecting more families with kids. And we don't get a lot of kids to our PG show. They're just people that are not interested in listening to curse words and
Right.
more risque kind of topics. They
Not
just
that
want.
we're really crass.
And we are not crass. And I'm going to tell you a secret, right? And I don't know how secret is now that we're sharing it on the radio.
It's on the radio, and it's also on that video thing.
Our-
There are 4 people
Yeah.
listening right now.
And they will know your secret.
And
Our-
after I said R, probably 3 of them left.
Our show is the same show as our PG show. And what I've directed onto the improvisers is that the only difference between the two is the suggestions we get from the audience. So on the PG show, we definitely encourage the audience to keep adult content to themselves because it's a family friendly environment. But at the R show, we're going to let the audience dictate what type of show they're going to get.
Oh, yeah.
And when they start throwing out the naughty suggestions, we'll take some of those naughty suggestions.
Just some.
Not all
Some
of them.
people are really,
Yeah, you could get some
really interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
we don't want to go too far. Yeah.
That's how do you avoid going to? I've heard it as the three off topics of improvisation: scatological, sexual, and cursing. Basically, are there three things that people seem to always go to initially as improvisers? How do you not do that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, sometimes we do. And if it's something that you've heard over and over and over again, there's more than one suggestion that's being yelled out by the audience. You don't always have to take every single suggestion.
Ah.
Sometimes you can be like, yeah, that's great. Any other suggestions?
Yeah, you're drunk. We don't want to talk to you. Okay. And moving on. Uh-huh.
Yeah, we kind of censor until we find something that's new and unique so that we're not running into the same kind of spiral.
So do you ever have an audience that's quiet and you're trying to get suggestions from them and you kind of have to warm them up to say, it's okay, you can talk.
You know what?
Yeah. Practice. We try to practice.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just had a corporate event not too long ago here on campus, as a matter of fact. And, everyone that showed up was kind of like, we got to do this thing. It's a work
Corporate
thing.
event.
And you're dragging us along.
No.
But what really tickled me about the whole thing is that by the end of the show, everyone was into it. Everyone is yelling out suggestions. Everybody is belly laughing. So when you see an audience that's quiet and a tad skeptical, and by the end of the show, they're on fire with it, man, that's a really good feeling to know that you've won them over and, they're new fans.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's where we now have Dixie Improv here, and of course we have Off the
Improv
Cuff
Dixie.
up north. Improv Dixie. I am so sorry. Improv Dixie. I'm afraid of Ginger right now.
Yeah, she gave you the eye.
But Improv Dixie, with all of these groups, you have groups of people getting together to do these different art forms, improv or music or theater, or even get together and do visual art and such. Where do you want to go? Do you have a future plan, or is this something that you just do and you're happy with it and you're just waiting to see where it goes?
I feel like you just asked us where our relationship is going.
Where are you going with this, guys? Have you talked? It's about time to have the
we're gonna
talk,
talk
guys.
now.
Yes.
Spill the beans.
I think there's a phone call from Ginger's husband
Oh,
right
no.
now.
Oh, I love him. Let me have the phone.
Oh.
Okay, so we already talked a little bit about the So You Comedy Theater. That is something that we're very much passionate about. We want to open up a theater that's going to not only have improv, but also stand-up, as well as all of those classes, the improv classes, the stand-up classes, sketch writing classes. But now that Jazzy's is closed, very saddened that it closed.
Yeah.
There was a very popular open mic night. We would love to bring that into our space as well, and really just be a hub for live entertainment in St. George. St. George is just growing so fast. We need more entertainment. We need more creativity. So we're very passionate about that. For Improv Dixie specifically, I was an employee of Comedy Sports in Davenport, Iowa, and Comedy Sports up in Portland. And Comedy Sports, for those of you that don't know, it's the largest improvisational comedy theater group in the world. There's 31 locations. They just opened up one in Las Vegas. My hope is that by the end of 2020, Improv Dixie will evolve into a Comedy Sports St. George and be part of that large improvisational family.
Well, you mentioned, I would actually like to know a little bit more about your background, Chewy. Ginger, I'm interested in you too. Please know that.
We've talked. We're fine. Go ahead.
But with this, you grew up in Chicago?
I'm a Chicago kid, born and raised.
And so you did that, but you haven't always just done improv. What other facets of performance have you been involved with?
So my whole background is in the concert industry, specifically the venue side of the concert industry. So after... I started as a stagehand when I was 17, and I ended up in an arena in Michigan, in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We opened that up in, 2000? Oh, heck, I don't even remember how long ago it was. But I knew that's what I wanted to do forever. I went back to school for a little bit, but I've lived all over the country, raised my kids all over the country, just advancing my career in the industry. So I've worked in amphitheaters and arenas and convention centers. And if it had a stage, I was probably somewhere behind the scenes working out deal points and contracts and making sure we had sound and lights and all of that fun stuff. And I work here now at Dixie State in the production department, doing kind of that, hiring our stage hands and our tech folks and getting them scheduled and making sure that all of the shows that we have at the Cox and commencements and some of the shows over at Eccles and wherever they need a stagehand, someone's calling me to let me know. So that's my background, just entertainment.
Got it.
On stage, off stage.
Yeah.
And you bring in, I love the fact that you're coming to do that. And you mentioned earlier, I hope you don't mind me sharing, that you're getting your accounting degree and things of that sort. So you've got all of these different facets.
He's a man with many talents.
I love that
amazing.
you're keeping the artistic side alive by doing, I'm going to say this correct, Improv Dixie
Yes.
here in SoU.
ID.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, and I think that says a lot about who's behind this organization, because I think some people think, oh, I'm going to put together an improv group, and which is great, but to start getting teachers involved and to help future generations of improvers, is that a
Improvisers,
improvisers,
Improvisational people.
words? Yes, I think that can gives our audience an idea that this just isn't a thing that was just thrown together. This is actually, you guys are thinking this out. This is you got a goal here.
I don't know if ironically enough is the right phrase, but special enough. There are at least 4 local high schools that have some sort of improvisational group or club.
And they compete?
They do.
Yeah.
I mean, the kids are already on board. So it's a matter of laying the foundation for professional improvisational comedy, so that when these kids, graduate, they have an outlet that they can continue to be funny and meet other people in their community that likes to make people laugh.
You said before that you've said that with improv you've seen people who are introverts suddenly come out of their shell, and
Sure.
and so would you say that if someone had a child or their spouse or themselves were feeling that this is something they wanted to try, how would you encourage them to participate?
Well, I think Improv 101 is good for
Improv 101.
everybody. Everyone.
Show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Come see a show for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But a basic improv class that works on communications and making decisions and working within groups is good for everyone. But www.improvdixie.com
Right.
is probably the quickest, fastest way. We're very active on Facebook and soon to be Instagram as well, now that I've got someone to run that for me.
Oh, yeah. Is that
Stepping
Ginger?
out there.
That's not me.
Okay.
Is that me? That's
No,
my
No, that's
Did you
not
just
you.
assign
That's
Ginger?
not you. I
Okay.
got
Oh,
somebody
whew.
else that's doing that.
Ginger's off the hook. Okay.
But in the Improv 101 class I have right now, my youngest performer is 15, and my oldest classmate is in his 70s.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and they are very, very funny people.
Oh,
So,
that's great.
what's even better is that most of them are going on to the 102 class, which means that we're getting away from just the basics of improv, and now we're
They're
we're
growing.
actually going to be playing the poker game.
Oh, that's great.
I think I know a lot of people are afraid of as well, and this is something I was afraid of for quite a while, is that working on improvisation or getting good at improv would change your personality. That it would turn you into one of those loud, obnoxious people called actors out there in society. And I have to say, something that fascinates me is that a lot of the best improvisers that I know, a lot of the best actors that I know are actually very quiet when they're not performing.
Yeah.
And I had a good friend who, whenever he would go to parties, he was a very, very funny improviser. And people would say, oh, he's coming, he's going to be the life of the party. And they would be very disappointed.
Yeah.
And he would be there, and he was having a great time, but they're like, why aren't you outgoing like you
tell
are on
us a
stage?
joke.
And he was just like, I'm not on stage,
funny.
so why should I be doing that?
I think what's really interesting for myself is I grew up really shy, and then I started kind of getting into theater
Ginger?
in high school.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say, does it make you like loud and obnoxious? What if it does anything for anybody, or just feel like it makes you feel more comfortable with yourself?
That's important.
And you're able
yeah.
to learn and listen and try different things, and it's just so fun. Like, it can be so fun, it can be so serious, but you learn things along the way. It's not always great. Sometimes it's bad, and you see where you want to improve, but I think it enhances the personality that is within the person already. I don't know. that's kind of how I've seen
Yeah.
it in my life, and then also the people that we've been able to bring into our little group and see them come from their first time and start doing shows, and then start making those really good choices, I guess, in scenes that just elevate the scene to the next level, and you're just like blown away because they're really going somewhere, and they're not changing who they are, they're just being better. Like, just, it's awesome. I don't know.
Yeah, and to be one of the tenets of improv is I got your back, and so what I teach to all my performers is my job isn't to be up here and be funny; it's to make you look really funny. And if I trust that you're doing the same for me, then people are getting a really good show because we're both hysterical.
Right.
So, and to be a really good improviser, you have to be a really good listener. So it doesn't surprise me at all that off the stage in a party situation, you're going to find an improviser sitting there listening, because that's really how you you come up with the witty, funny things to say, is only by listening to each other.
Yeah.
So,
We could all use more listeners in this world.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm excited to see some of this. When's your next performance?
Yes.
Well, we're really excited because our next show is actually a free show. That is Wednesday, November 21st.
November 21st.
The day before Thanksgiving. We are doing 2 free shows. We're doing a free PG show. And
Wait,
we're doing
what?
a
Free?
Free.
First
All
time
you have to
in
do is
a
RSVP.
You're kidding.
No joke.
Okay.
And on top of that, we are raising funds for 2 great organizations. We're raising money for the Children's Justice Center
Fantastic.
of Washington County, and we're raising money for the Dove Center.
Oh, wonderful.
And we're also taking in-kind donations the day of the show.
So it's free, but
Yeah, it's
But to
free,
help
but,
out other-
but we're
others.
encouraging.
Yeah.
We're encouraging you to open up your
And-
wallets to 2 really great organizations here in our community.
And where will this be at?
That will be at the Comfort Suites.
Comfort Suites.
That the new one that's right on the corner of, what is that? 1000 and St.
Denny's.
George.
By
Boulevard.
Denny's.
where you
Yeah.
can eat
Okay.
good
Behind the
stuff.
Denny's.
And so if someone wants to come to this, how do they RSVP?
You know what? Best thing is just improvdixie.com.
Okay.
So we have that show in November, and
All
then
right.
in December we'll be doing one on December 22nd. That'll be our holiday magic show, where
Holiday
we're actually doing
magic.
improv and magic.
Will there be
So
Wow.
and
we'll have-
magic?
We'll have,
Too.
we'll have magicians as well as
Will there be
improvisers.
glitter?
Some of the best magicians in town. Trey Patterson, mind you. If you haven't
Oh.
seen Trey Patterson performing a street fest, he's amazing.
We have him coming on the show at the end of November, too.
Well-
Absolutely.
Well, wow.
You better go to the show so you can
Trey,
see.
Yeah.
Trey's been with Improv Dixie since the beginning, so
Yeah.
he's one of our founding members 2 years ago. Trey's an awesome, awesome guy.
And will this be will we pay to go to this event?
This will be a paid event. So we do $7 in advance,
Well,
and
that's
it's
not bad.
15 days of the show.
Okay, not bad
the
at all.
ticketing company we're using doesn't let us do the BOGO deal,
Oh.
so we just drop the price
No
down to
BOGO
$7.
for you
No.
all.
So
Okay.
for $14, you can come and see the show, or you
Yeah.
can wait and give us more money to the day of. if
Yeah,
that's
well,
what you
why
wanna do.
not? It's magical. And what
Yeah.
day was that again?
That'll be Saturday, December 22nd.
Right before Christmas.
Yeah.
And that's
great.
www.improvdixie.com.
Yep.
You did it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I think talking about Trey Patterson is actually a wonderful little segue.
Segue
Yeah.
this
That
other
we
person
have
that
here.
just joined us. And
And first of all, I want to thank very, very much Ginger Nelson
Yes,
and
thank
Chewy
you.
Lockhart for
Thank
being a
you,
part of this
Chewy.
show.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
We're giving them applause right now, and Chewy's got the
My
it's
Jesus
stuck
hair is
in his
stuck.
hair.
I have to
It's gonna be a while.
please
Okay.
check out Facebook to see.
You guys
this
have
is
got to
enough
see it.
right
It's
here.
really okay. His hair's still okay. Wow, and it's so conditioned too. I'm just admiring that hair. Oh man,
Oh, we'd like to
Thank you guys.
actually welcome that was actually a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much, guys.
Yes.
To
Safe
learn more
journeys. We will see you soon on November 21st.
about
Yeah.
Improv Dixie.
Yeah.
So much.
And we're also we have joining us in the studio right now Adam Mast, who has been a guest on the show before. And the reason I say Trey Patterson was a wonderful segue is because Trey is not only an accomplished magician and also a founding member of Improv Dixie, but he's also a local filmmaker who has done a lot of work. He has had entries in several of the guerrilla film festivals that have happened around town, and he's he's just been fascinated with performing and bringing stories to St. George and Southern Utah. And now that he's sat right over there, Adam, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Whoa, Adam. Where'd you come
I
from?
love Chewy and Ginger.
Hello.
What a cool.
Yeah.
I love what they do.
Well, I've learned a lot today about improv, and I'm pretty excited.
Well, absolutely.
I'm terrible at improv.
Oh,
You
I
guys
don't know
are
how
actors.
I don't know how I would do. I have to have a
I'm
script.
sure you guys would.
I have to have those words in front of me that I'm safe. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so, hey, Adam, welcome back to the studio.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I
again.
understand we've got an event coming up that we really
do?
want to get out there.
I know. I'm bummed. You guys were on tap, but you guys are doing a show. But that's
Yes.
awesome. And
Yeah.
a shout out, both of you. Flowers for Algernon was awesome.
Oh, thank you, Adam. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We loved it. Great show. What a performance by Kelly. Holy cow.
Some
yeah.
really, really wonderful work up there.
Yeah.
We had
It was
a
great.
lot of good people on that show. So thank you.
No, thank you.
So-
Thank you for all you do.
What do you have coming up?
I have Horror Fest. You guys are horror fans, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
It sounds a little bit like a disease. I have Horror Fest,
No.
Great,
it's,
and
it's,
we're done. Okay.
and the
Completely
antidote is.
That's a good question. Maybe you have maybe you can create it for us.
I don't think there's a cure for the bug that we're going to be talking
I-
about.
No. So we got all kinds of great stuff going on Saturday. I've
This
been on
Saturday.
this Saturday,
Okay.
the 27th. I've been on to talk about FMASU before, and we're just trying to open the door for up and coming filmmakers in the area. And one of the things we've been doing since 2005 is Southern Utah's Guerrilla Filmmaking Challenge, and we do them 3 times a year. And essentially, what we do is we get filmmakers together, and we give them a theme, and then we give them a limited amount of time to make a short film using any resources available to them. That's basically how it goes down. And the first one we ever did was a Halloween event, and naturally the upcoming event, it's all sort of horror in nature, I guess you could say. The theme is creature feature. And I've seen all the movies, and there's some really, really cool stuff. I'm so bummed you guys.
Oh, I
you guys
know. We
can't
were
come.
looking forward to it.
Are we on camera right now?
Yeah,
yes,
we
you are.
are.
You-
We
you-
are.
Here's a little.
Oh, yeah, hold it up to that
look at
camera there.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
That's everybody who's listening on the radio right now is saying, "Oh, I wish I had a computer to look at this."
Yeah, created
Yeah.
by Jeff Sanders. It's sort of a homage to Ed Wood. Have you guys ever seen the Tim Burton movie Ed
Yes.
Wood? You could probably see it. See the little homage there. So our theme was creature feature. The filmmakers need to include a pumpkin in their shorts,
pumpkin,
obviously, and then they have to use the dialogue line "You're a monster." So,
Oh.
and you're right. This was a good segue because our good friend Trey Patterson is going to be all over this thing. He wrote and directed a movie that we're showing, and it's amazing.
Great.
I've seen some stills of it from on Facebook, and he shared some on other medium, and it looks amazing.
It's so good, and he's also going to be performing some magic there, which is
tremendous.
super cool. And some other little surprises with Trey. We don't want to pull back the curtain, but we're doing a couple of. Trey has been so amazing and helped us with a lot of really cool things that we're doing at this event. So we're pretty excited. But a record-breaking 26 movies.
Fantastic.
26.
That's a record breaker for Horror Fest. I think we had 28 at one of the summer events, but this is the most we've
That's
ever had for Halloween.
Quite a few, yeah.
And Halloween's tough, because a lot
Yeah.
of people don't like the horror thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we were pretty excited that a lot of people threw caution to the wind, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna try this." some great movies,
Mm-hmm.
really cool stuff. And then we're bookending the whole event with a couple of other things. We're showing. Are you guys Hocus Pocus fans?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We are opening the event thanks to our good friends at Red Cliffs Dental with Kelly Olson, actually. And we're actually going to do a free screening
A free screening
of Hocus Pocus.
Wonderful.
25th anniversary. If only we could get the ladies to show up.
Oh, and that'd be
I wonder
great.
if Bette Midler and
Oh, I've
Kathy
got her on my
Najimy,
phone right here.
Sarah
Let me,
Jessica Parker, if you're listening,
Yes,
come
please
on down.
come. Yeah.
So 3:00 at the Electric Theater for that. Doors at 2:30. The Guerrilla Filmmaking Showcase will be at 6, and then we're closing it out with a screening of Creepshow, which is. Have you seen Creepshow?
Yeah, aren't there several creep
Yeah.
shows, or is there just
Well,
one?
there are 3 films. Greg Nicotero, who does the effects on Walking Dead, he directs a lot of the episodes. Just announced that he's going to be doing a TV series on Shudder. I think it premieres 2019. But the first film is really the one worth talking about. I know part 2 has its fans. We don't need to talk about 3. The less said about part 3, the better. 2 has its moments, but 1 is the best. It's Stephen King and George Romero.
And is it the 3 stories?
No, there's
the movie?
5.
There are 5 stories.
And then a wraparound.
Okay.
And they're super funny, very darkly funny. And the movie's got veteran actors in it. Hal Holbrook's in it. Fritz Weaver's in it. I mean, it's got Adrienne Barbeau, early performance from Ed Harris, like early 80s is when it came out. So great movie.
I remember watching that at a slumber party. I didn't tell my parents, but
Oh, my mom took me to see it.
Wow, there's a difference.
Yeah,
That explains
I had
so
very
much.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. I had a very, very cool mom. God rest her soul. But she always took me to the horror movies. But back in the day, that wasn't frowned upon as much as it is now.
Yeah.
But such a great movie, and we really hope we can get a good crowd.
Well, it sounds like a great event, especially for kids at 3:00, a free show. What a
free
great
show.
thing to
We'd
take
love
the
to get
kids
families
to.
out.
So
Show. We're
moms,
not,
bring your kids.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're not just all edgy. We'll get into the horror fest after dark stuff later on at night. And even the Gorilla Shorts. There's a couple that are a little on the edgy side, but nothing harder than a PG-13. So
Well, that's not bad. Yeah.
and it's. I mean, you guys have judged. You've been to a couple of them.
Yeah.
You've seen. There's just extraordinary talent
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And we don't get to see a lot of the filmmaking talent. I mean, you can see it online, but it's kind of fun to experience.
You've
that
got to
stuff
see
in
it.
a theater.
You've got to see it in a theater.
Yeah,
It's
for
a
sure.
completely different experience.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So relatively cheap too. We're trying to keep the price down.
Oh.
You can get tickets in advance right now at fmasu.com for $8, and then it's
Only 8.
only $8, and then
And that gets you into
$10.
everything?
Yep. Well, the Hocus Pocus is free, but yeah, for everything
In the
else.
show.
So
Got it.
it's going to be a lot of fun. I got to ask, did you guys go to see the new Halloween? We talked
Not
about it.
No,
yet.
I have not.
We have not. We almost went to see The Nun, and
still haven't
but we
seen
were
it.
swayed differently, so we decided not to, and we
Not
haven't
a
seen
fan.
the new Halloween.
Not a fan.
I do have to tell you something.
I'm having none of it.
Oh,
See what I did there?
You've got a bad
no.
habit of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
funny.
But
That's good.
We just watched, and I just love talking about this because it makes me so happy. I have mentioned it in every class I have taught since we finished
yeah.
this series.
Yeah.
The Haunting of Hill House.
Yes.
The
Have you
series.
seen it?
Don't tell me. I watched the first episode.
Oh.
Yes.
The streaming thing is driving me nuts
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
get into something
Yep.
and then some other awesome thing
Yeah.
comes out. I love Mike Flanagan. Have you guys seen his other stuff?
I don't know that I have. actually.
Oculus.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
did see
yes.
that,
Yeah, we
yeah.
did
Fantastic.
Oculus. Yeah.
Gerald's Game.
I did
Did
not
not
see
see
that.
that.
one.
He's
Yeah.
doing the Shining sequel right now. Doctor Sleep.
Oh
That's
no.
what he's shooting right now. I love Mike
Yeah.
Flanagan. Hush. He did a film
Hush.
called Hush.
Hush
I
is
do remember
great. That's
Hush,
a great
yes.
movie.
Really
Yeah.
cool filmmaker. And that first episode, if the rest of the show
Oh,
is
you're
as
in
good
for
as
it.
that,
Yeah.
I heard it's
yeah.
disturbing and genuinely creepy.
Yeah, we binged it at night, and that was a bad idea.
No, it's not. You always got to watch horror stuff.
We
at
had to
night.
end it with Frasier just to start laughing. You
Well,
know, at the-
I'm going to
yeah.
tell you, just my plug for this thing. Yeah, the first episode is great. It continues to just get better and better.
Yeah.
And the tension that is built up, I guess some people may find it disturbing. I didn't. I was afraid.
You found it
that-
wholesome?
it was wholesome. I felt like I
You were
needed
touched.
I needed to go to church afterwards.
you
I
were
thought it was
scared.
wonderful.
Touched
Yeah,
the
No,
brother's
it
you were
was
heart.
scared.
It was scary, but
Yeah.
I was afraid it was going to get into indulgent horror.
Yeah.
As I
Yeah.
put it, the stuff that really doesn't need to be there. But boy, it was well written.
Yeah.
It was tight. The acting is out of this world. I've
Exposition.
used a monologue from it to show to a lot of my students
Yeah.
about maintaining intensity and the writing, the acting, everything about it, the production values. It is one of the best things I have seen on the small screen in a very, very long
Yeah.
time.
God bless Netflix.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
all I'm
yeah.
saying. I
Yeah.
know that Netflix, not to get too far off topic, but Netflix is come under scrutiny, with, chunks of the film industry
Yeah.
because it really has changed the entire climate. But you know what? None of the studios were lining up to give Martin Scorsese $150 million for his new movie. And guess who
Right.
did? Netflix did. So it's just more content. Like, I don't care if it's quality. I don't care where I'm watching it. That said, I love the theatrical experience.
Yeah.
And I wish Netflix would roll stuff out theatrically. Not necessarily the show we're talking about because it's a series.
Right.
But imagine getting to see a couple of those episodes in a theater, like with a crowd. You know, it's kind of a bummer.
Well, now you brought up Halloween. Is this something that we need to check out before?
Well, I'm
Halloween?
going to play devil's advocate.
Oh, no,
because
stop.
I didn't hate the movie.
Yeah.
But I was super disappointed, and I'm willing to. You know, last time I was on the show, I told you how excited I was for it. And I'm a champion, and I wanted the movie to be great. I think there are great things in it. I certainly didn't hate it. I would just say, you know, taper those expectations. You know, they've retconned the entire franchise. It exists in a world where only the first movie happened. You know, but they still throw in tons of Easter eggs. There's all kinds of stuff going on there to remind you that you're watching a Halloween movie.
Well, Jamie Lee Curtis, were you pleased with her performance?
She's great.
Okay.
And I wish, because there's a lot of, you know, the PTSD thing going on in there, which is really actually pretty cool. And, you know, not to get political, but we are kind of living in the you know, there's the hashtag Me Too that's really big right now. And there's an aspect of this film, you know, no one wants to believe Lori or, you know, what happened
Typical.
and how badly it's affected her.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm ruffling some feathers.
Well, and
So there are certain things about the film I really like. John Carpenter's back for the score, and the music is freaking awesome. I love the music.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
What if say now that we do have ruffled feathers and we do have the feeling of the ominous, I'd have to say we're out of time.
Oh, no.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
and I want to get you back in here, Adam, because I really want to talk about Netflix
I
and
know.
what it's doing to the industry.
Yeah.
I'm excited about what it's doing for writers.
Oh, yeah.
Writing these stories that sustain over 10, 13 episodes, even seasons. But that is a conversation that
For
we are
all
going to
this.
have to save.
I have a friend who's a writer who has written. He's working on a 10-episode he's already written a pilot. I can't go into what it is. I'm absolutely convinced that Netflix should buy this script because I have no doubt it would be huge. It would be big like Stranger Things is big. And I'll tell you more about it later.
Oh,
you guys
that's great.
You guys will totally appreciate it.
Okay.
Well, I am going to keep listening, everybody.
Yes, and Saturday. So it's this Saturday for the
Saturday, October 27th, 3 p.m.
3
Doors
p.m.
at 2:30 at the Electric Theater.
Okay.
So 3 p.m. for Hocus Pocus,
Okay.
which is free. And then we've got the Gorilla Showcase, which is at 6. And then we close out with Creep Show. We're also doing a jack-o'-lantern contest.
Great.
But we want people to bring them. No carving on
No
the
carving,
premises. I don't
please,
want
no.
cut off
Yeah,
fingers.
okay.
Bring your pumpkins, and we're going to have the filmmakers behind one of the movies. They've made a mockumentary about pumpkin carving, and we're going to have them judge the jack-o'-lantern.
Oh, great.
Holly
That sounds
Rayner, I don't
fun.
know if you guys know her. She's
We do, yeah.
Yeah,
you know
I
Holly.
know her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she wrote and directed this movie. It's
Great.
really charming. And
Okay.
then, of course, no Halloween event would be complete without costumes.
Perfect.
Not
Yeah.
not mandatory, but come dressed
Come
up
do it anyways. Yeah.
and enjoy this amazing collection
How
of
fun.
filmmakers. We've
Wow.
got so much
That's
talent.
great.
So
Good.
Well, we do hope everybody will take advantage of this and also check out improvdixie.com.
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I can't wait. I
And-
want to see the Christmas thing.
And
they're
this
doing.
Thursday, we will have our guest will be Josh Scott with Dixie High
Oh,
School.
He's
yeah.
a judge.
Yeah.
I
Is he
had him
judging?
come in because you
Oh,
guys couldn't do it.
Josh,
I
yeah.
love Josh. Did you guys see
Yeah.
Young Frankenstein?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, we did as Igor.
Igor's
yeah.
so awesome.
Yeah, and then we also have Zach Webb joining him, so that'll be great.
Zach Webb, an
Yeah.
up-and-coming percussionist here in
Yes.
St. George.
Oh, we're excited.
Nice.
Good run.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, please do join us on Thursday at
Mm-hmm.
4 p.m. and any Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. when we talk to local artists as
Mm-hmm.
well as representatives of local organizations. Hopefully we'll inspire you to get involved, come watch some shows, come be a part of shows or performances. And until we speak, I guess, or until we broadcast again, have fun and keep your focus on the arts.
Happy Halloween.